Gamer Type Originals.
It's time for something brief. For this 20th episode of Nth Briefly, I'm stepping back in time to revisit an all-time classic, SimCity 2000, a game that, in sticking with the theme, I haven't played in 20 years. Operating without the game's manual in an era before YouTube tutorials, SimCity 2000 was a weird game as a kid. I'd paint its tan landscapes with roads, parks, and police stations, but nothing would happen and I'd eventually run out of money. It was only when I figured out how to lay down power plants that my urban experiments began to grow and thrive, and the game quickly became one of my personal favorites. There's an absolute genius to SimCity 2000, which was Will Wright's second and final SimCity game before moving on to mega popular life simulator The Sims and less than stellar cell-to-space game Spore. The game is 24 years old and playable through a DOSBox emulator, so one has to wonder, how does this once groundbreaking strategy game hold up? Super well, actually. SimCity 2000 arrived at an inflection point of technology and aesthetic in computer gaming. In the early 90s, city builders still looked a lot like this, and didn't offer much beyond what the original SimCity brought in the late 80s. Personal computers of the day were just barely powerful enough to handle 2000's extensive features, like variable terrain, underground views, and complex simulations. The game, true to Max's spirit, is wonderful to look at and full of charm, whether it's the bright color palette or the quirky newspaper articles. The diametric perspective, inspired by Japan's best-selling A-Train, would be a city builder standard for decades to come. To explore how well the game worked after all these years, I decided to build two cities. The first city, Tarantropolis, was built in the same way I'd build cities back in the 90s. I ground the map flat in the editor, then laid down zones as quickly and lazily as I possibly could. I turned off disasters so I could build without distractions, like expiring power plants, and managed to unlock the top-level Arcology rewards in less than 2 hours, which is undoubtedly a record for me. I'll talk about those more in a second. I didn't cheat building Tarantropolis, except that I still knew how to play the game so well after so many years, but it still felt easy and pointless. I never got a feel for Tarantropolis' strengths or weaknesses, and without much in the way of unique geography, the urban sprawl felt uniform. It was never a challenge, even with only $20,000 in the bank to start with, so I decided to build a second city, which I called Mega Thing. Mega Thing was originally something I was just going to fiddle with and give up, but as I kept playing, I fell in love. The map was hilly, and since you couldn't build on sloped surfaces, this meant a lot of it was inhospitable without some extensive landscaping. Between the rough terrain, power plants that died after 50 years, and an unsteady flow of cash, I felt like I was being genuinely challenged. I issued a bond to survive and afford a new power plant and stadium, which ate up a lot of my town's income on the interest alone. But soon I was making it, and feeling really comfortable with the hills and valleys of Mega Thing's complex terrain. After 2 decades, it felt like I was playing SimCity 2000 properly, even if replacing my power plants was getting really annoying. One of the biggest reasons why I love this game over its successors are those Arcologies, which are self-contained cities within cities. They're expensive, majestic structures that allow you to take cities from nearly 200,000 people to over 10 million. It granted SimCity 2000 an endgame, when its Arcology-free successors were just interesting journeys to fill the landmass with sprawl, something you were going to do anyway. 2000's legacy is cemented by its support, including 1996's crude but lovable SimCopter that allowed you to be the hero or villain of a prefab SimCity 2000 town, or one of your own. This series' 1999 successor, SimCity 3000, also allowed you to import your SimCity 2000 files. Despite being a complete disaster when it launched, 2013's SimCity may be the closest we've seen to a return to formula since 2000 wrote most of the rules. Beyond DA's meddling, there are some solid design choices in the 2013 title. So solid, Paradox and Colossal Order felt inclined to lift them and laugh all the way to the bank with 2015's City Skylines. Don't worry, I'll be giving Skylines its fair shake, but that's for another video. Today we celebrate SimCity 2000, the best city builder ever, well, built.